Hey guys, we're going to talk about the infamous UAL 8 match with John Brzenk. But first, I'm going to give you a little history. So I started arm wrestling in 1990. I met John Brzenk for the first time in 1993, Nags Head Beach, North Carolina. But it brought out all the big guns. So I pulled the 220 class and I took third behind John Brzenk and Ron Bath. So obviously, John Brzenk being the legend that he was, you grew up arm wrestling, you look up to John, you see everything he's done, he's beating everyone, so you're cheering for him, you're rooting for him. And so that was basically the beginning part of my career. One of the moments in my career where I really realized that, I say this a lot, but when I had arrived and I believed that I was among the top tier in the world, is when the likes of Ron Bath or John Brzenk would call me up and ask my opinion. When I became their peer. Those are some cool times. Having someone like that, people who you always looked up to, now asking you, what is your opinion on a league or a match or an opponent, or what's their best strategy? So leading up to the 2014 match, I'd pulled John numerous times and only had ever had one pin on him, and that was at the 2007 ROTN, where we both weighed 215 pounds. Now, it was funny how that pin happened. I was trying to slip, and I hit real fast on go, and John just held on all the way to the pad. I was like, holy crap, I won. And then I'm like, hey, let's pull the next one in the straps. Huge mistakes, he killed me in the straps. But that was still my one and only victory against John. So the UAL starts out 2010. I missed the inaugural event. Jerry Caderet ends up winning the super heavyweight, beating John Brzenk, so he becomes the super heavyweight champion of the UAL. In 2013, we set up a match between me and Jerry for this UAL ring right here. It was appraised at $10,000 at the time. Now, I won a Harley Davidson before, I've won some decent prizes, but that was a pretty big payday, right? Winning a $10,000 ring. I beat Jerry 3-0. So I became the UAL super heavyweight champion. Signed a contract later that year with the UAL, and the contract, I was supposed to do ultimate matchups, and that's all I was contracted to do. But in 2014, we never could get me a match, I hadn't lost a match since losing to Devin in 2011. That was July 2011, August 2014. My right arm had not been pinned. When I say I hadn't lost, I mean I hadn't been pinned in 3 years in competition. So I was riding a pretty big high. Robert Drink was holding this big tournament out in Los Angeles, Huntington Beach, wherever it was. The contract for super matches, ultimate matchups, and that's what I want to do. But then Robert's like, will you please come out here and pull this UAL 8 events, $10,000 first place in the super heavyweight division. John had recently got over 250 pounds or something. It was pretty beefy. I said, what the heck, let's do it. Rebecca and I had just gotten married the 4th of July, so we're gonna fly out there and then we're going over to Hawaii after that. So I was like, let's make a trip out of it. So we get out there to UAL 8. It's a stacked class. Matt Gerdner's return. You got Richard Lupke's, Jerry Caderet, John Brzenk. Just a stacked division, right? Tournament starts, I'm on fire. Bust back Matt Gerdner, go through him pretty quick. Everything's looking good for me. And then you look at the semifinals, and it comes up to Jerry Caderet and John Brzenk. So we make it to the semifinals, and John Brzenk and Jerry had a pretty good strategy. I believe at the time, they didn't think either one of them had a great chance of beating me. So they decided to, when their names were called, to not pull against each other, to not compete, to lay down. Well, this is a strategy John's used several times in his career. Not necessarily for this reason, I'm not sure. John used to lay down to Travis on occasion, or he would lay down to his brother Bill, let Bill go to the A side, John would knock out whoever is on the B side, pull again in the finals. So John Brzenk lays down to Jerry Caderet. Me and Jerry, the two undefeated guys, Jerry and I pull for 2 minutes.
Caderet and John Brzenk will be watching intently from the back. And this match is going the distance. It's a screamer. Neither man can gain any leverage advantage. Unbelievable death war. John Brzenk will be licking his lips at this prospect.
2 minutes and 5 seconds, I think. War, right? I come back, pin him. Well, now John's got to pull Jerry. Well, Jerry lays down to John, or doesn't pull him, right? So now John's fresh. I'm in the finals against John Brzenk. I just had a 2-minute war with Jerry. So first match, slip strap. Now this is the first time John Brzenk has ever pulled me in competition since I had started using you know, my version of the King's move. The very first match, hit, I have pretty decent, I flattened his wrist, it's good. He commits an elbow foul. I'm like, you can't pin this arm. And I believe in that match, he would not have pinned me. And for what I understand, it was on running fouls because they were using their version of Arm Wars. So technically that match should not have been stopped. It did get stopped. John had an adjustment the second time, was able to climb. He was a little bit more defensive in the start, so he was able to climb and he came with a bench press and got me. So now it's 1-1. So I'm like, hell with it. I'm gonna drive in the shoulder. So I drove in, got my hook, he hits, I'm holding, I'm feeling good, and I shove my elbow to the left to make an adjustment, and the referee calls parallel pin. I dispute the call. I don't think I was pinned. Actually, the two refs get together and they're gonna overturn the call and we're gonna have the match again. It's pretty heated, pretty disputed. And at the time, what meant more to me was knowing that under different circumstances, John would not have been able to beat me. So I asked him to his face, I don't care about the money, fresh for fresh, right now could you beat me? He said, there's no way I could beat you right now. So I said, screw it, just take the money. Huge mistake, because that was $10,000 for first place, $1,000 for second. Plus that footage is gonna be replayed over and over and over of people saying, this is how you beat Michael Todd. Look how good John Brzenk is, even in his older, look, he still beat him. And hey, John won that day. But like I said, that match, there was a lot of strategy. That's the story behind that match. And John and I were cool. The attitude changed, right? And John and I actually got into it over it, to the point where he told me we weren't friends anymore. I was like, well, that sucks, you know what I'm saying? Actually, what happened was Rebecca didn't understand strategy. You know, she was new to arm wrestling, and she felt it's like throwing a game. Like you're in the World Series and you know, or you miss a basket in the NBA final or whatever. She felt like it was cheating, that they decided to have their strategy and to not pull each other so someone could be fresh and have the best shot of beating me. So she was rather vocal online on social media. And it prompted John to actually say, you know, hey, we're not friends anymore. So I kind of took that shit to heart. I was like, what the hell? But now I wanted the match. I wanted the redemption. I wanted the redemption, right? Because like I said, I hadn't been pinned in 3 years. I've taken on everybody, push scar, I pulled everyone. Everyone that wanted a match, I pulled, and hadn't gotten pinned in 3 years. So Robert Brzenk has this ring made. At the time, it was appraised for $30,000. $30,000. Robert offers me the match against John Brzenk. Winner take all. Hell yes, let's do this. And then I hear Robert tell me that John won't take the match. There's nothing for second place. It's winner take all for the ring. So John either felt like he didn't have anything else to prove, or he didn't know how good his chances were of beating me over 5 rounds or whatever. It's a $30,000 ring. If you're so confident you beat me and you at the last event, you should take this match. But match didn't happen. So we're at the big suite in Vegas where Robert Brzenk had the UAL event after the Olympia, where they had the drones and everything. Really cool UAL cake. Robert comes and puts this ring on my finger. I'm like, looks good, doesn't it? He's like, yeah, man, you might as well keep it. I'm like, what are you talking about? He goes, I've got no one to pull you. I'm like, well, for real? He's like, yeah. I'm like, all right, dude, you just let me know when you have somebody pull this, because this ring's staying on my finger. I'll beat whoever you get me. Ends up never being a match. So I've had this ring since September of 2014, and I've worn it with pride. But because it was something that proved to me that the greatest arm wrestler of all time, you can't argue, it's got to be John Brzenk, was not willing to pull me for this ring because there was nothing for second place. So what's going on now is I've signed a contract with World Arm Wrestling League. Bill Collins has taken over the UAL, and I cannot defend this ring. So I'm going to take this ring and I'm going to send it back to UAL. I'm going to send it back to Bill Collins. Now I'm hoping that whenever something gets announced for this ring, I get a shot at it. I don't know. I hope this gives you guys some perspective on that match. John has done amazing things in his career. John had nothing else to prove. You know, he's the GOAT. That was 2014. That was 5 years ago. But I believe if you ask John, I believe in my heart, even on that day at UA 8, had that been a super match, I would have came out and I still would have been undefeated. So guys, I'm going to be sending this ring back with a heavy heart, of course, but it belongs with the UAL until a match can be set for it. Hopefully I get a shot at it, because it should be mine.